I think sometimes people are like, yeah, okay, whatever, to like call Congress, and they like post on social media about calling Congress, but then they don't actually call Congress. Like, you should post on social media about calling Congress 100%, and then you should call Congress.
So you're probably wondering how I ended up here, especially when the last real party I threw that didn't have Disney characters printed on the paper plates was a housewarming party in my first apartment out of college, where I bought way too much cheese, put it out on the table, and only 5 people showed up. I'm an internet kid, not a party person, but when last we met under this fancy Creators for Change lighting, we learned what organizing is, and I asked my friend Jess how I should get started, how I could make a tangible difference, and she gave me an assignment.
You should have a house party. You call your friends, and you kind of figure out like what's the thing that we want to change.
So how did it go? Well, I bought way too much cheese and only 5 people showed up, but this time we made a plan to ask our members of Congress to give undocumented immigrants a path to citizenship. Ain't no party like an organizing party, cause an organizing party makes legislative change. So let me tell you how I did it and how you can do it too. I just created a Facebook event to invite people to my house party next weekend, so I'm kind of nervous. I'm scared that nobody's gonna show up, or I'm scared that they're gonna show up, and I'm gonna have no idea what to say or what to do. So, I'm about to hit the button. I did it. Okay, well, it's happening now. It's happening. Not gonna lie, I was really nervous to do this. I'm used to talking about things that I care about online, but in person, it's a whole different story. And I had 2 main fears about getting people together to talk about something I wanted to solve. The first was that no one was gonna show up, and that's kind of a valid fear. I invited 15 people in a Facebook event, and after all the people who were out of town or just busy or not interested, even the people that said they were gonna come, I was a little afraid they might flake out. I was actually out to dinner with some friends of friends the night before and just panicked and invited everybody there to come too. 2 of the people who actually showed up to my party were people that I'd just met the night before. But the moral of the story here is invite more people than you think you want there. A small group is good to start, but people will flake out. So plan accordingly. I was also afraid because I'm not a policy expert in anything. I thought that if I wanted to get people together to do something, I would have to know exactly what I wanted them to do. What I did know is I think that it's really important that we embrace and welcome and protect immigrants, and I knew that I was really angry that DACA, a system that would give people who were raised in the US legal status to go to school and work here, was being taken away. So after everyone introduced themselves at my party, I just led with that. When I think about xenophobia, one recent example is that the Trump administration recently decided to repeal DACA. So DACA, if anyone in the room doesn't know, if anybody watching doesn't know, was an executive order that was signed by President Obama, or if you came to the US as a kid with your parents and you didn't go through the formal immigration process, now you're an adult, you're still living in the US, this is the only place that you call home, it would allow you basically to apply for this status that you could get a work permit, you could get a social security number, you could go to school, you could work, and it lasts for 2 years. You have to renew every 2 years. So basically now the Trump administration has decided no more DACA, they're not gonna take any more applications for this program. The people who have it will still have it through the end of their 2-year term. But when this video goes live, you can't renew it anymore. And that's wrong for a couple of reasons. One, because immigrants are people and we should care about them like by virtue of that alone, I think. I was in Nevada where there are a lot of immigrants, and I think about all of the people who were knocking doors for us, making calls for us, bringing dinner to our office. So many of these people were dreamers, were DACA recipients. And I just think about all these people who were our volunteers, our advocates, our friends, and I feel like they showed up for us and now we need to show up for them. We actually have a chance to make sure that people are protected in their status. We need to make as big a deal of this as we did like for the healthcare repeal attempts, where everybody got on the phone and they called their representatives and it was like this big, huge swell of support. And I wanna make sure that we do the same thing for the DREAM Act, which is a bill that would make sure that people who meet the requirements for DACA, they could get green cards, and after a certain period of time, they could apply to become citizens, which right now there's no way for people who have DACA to become citizens. So what I kind of want to talk about with you guys today is how do we make sure that everybody knows about this and is fired up about this as they were for healthcare and are making calls, and then is there other stuff that we should be trying to do besides just making people make calls? I just shared what I knew and asked a question. And you don't have to have all the answers either. That's what a house party is for. You can invite people who know more than you or just have different backgrounds and perspectives, and you let the whole of your collective knowledge be greater than the sum of its parts. You can also do a little research ahead of time and look at organizations and nonprofits that work on the issue that you care about. They might have things on their website like fact sheets, ideas for actions you can take, even sample meeting agendas if you want to have a house party of your own. But once you open up your question to the group, remember to listen and let the magic happen.
It seems like if there's a bipartisan effort, where are the roadblocks that, what's preventing it from coming, the bill being introduced, as quickly as it could be?
It's not just wanting the DREAM Act to come up for a vote, which we do. It's what people would call clean DREAM. And a clean DREAM Act means that it's not tied to any other bills. That's really, really important because otherwise, the DREAM Act enjoys, honestly, I just heard this and I tweeted, I had to reread this again because I didn't believe it. 79% of Republicans agree with the DREAM Act. They want to pass the DREAM Act. It's really important that we don't have an immigration bill that DREAM is tied to enforcement, because then it means we'll have to people will call bargain for DREAM, and then get the wall. That's really bad. That's the worst possible outcome for everybody because Dreamers shouldn't be a bargaining chip.
A lot of them are teenagers or in their 20s or in their 30s or their early 30s, and that's the time when you're planning where do I see myself going educationally, at work, moving with my partner, or whatever the case might be. How do you plan? First of all, it must be scary to be able to only plan your life 2 years in 2-year increments, but then also to lose that and to say, I don't even know if I'm gonna have this country that I call my home, my family, my support networks, my resources in a week or 6 months. And it's how do you set yourself up for the success that you're capable of if you don't have those resources available or you can't count on them?
Well, I think it's really incumbent on these community forces such as churches and schools to really, they're the ones that are supposed to support the community, everyone in the community. It's been really touching when I've seen just places where they're just open arms to everyone.
I have a lot of friends who are sociologists, psychologists, lawyers. They do a lot of things in human services, and so I feel now would also be a really good time if you have the capacity to donate whatever type of thing you do.
I think the only thing I would just add that's really important is the program. People's DACA starts expiring next week, so it's not it's going to go away in a while. It goes away right now, and there has really material changes in their life. So it means that they don't have work authorization a lot of times. Some people have been able to do things like have a driver's license and buy homes on DACA, and so they'll no longer be able to drive their car. The changes in their lives will be totally immediate. So one thing I like to think about, in addition to all the things we need to do around Congress and sort of the access and privilege that I have as a citizen, how can I use that in support of DACA recipients? But also I have friends, a lot of friends who are DACA recipients, and they might lose their jobs. So how can it help at personal levels too, I think is really, really important.
I knew most of that background. I didn't realize how quickly some of it's gonna start expiring. And so not even just thinking about can't drive your car, you're gonna lose your job, but it's literally your whole life. This is a big deal.
I tried to listen more than I talked. Some of the people in the room were really knowledgeable about immigration, and others were still pretty new to the issue, but even they had great ideas to add. In fact, having people in the room who weren't professional campaigners was really helpful for us to figure out the limits of what we thought we could do. And I'm not saying you should ever feel confined by any limits, because organizing is such a powerful tool, but it's important to remember that this starts with our families and our friends.
I'm Latina, but I've been here, maybe only been here a really long time, and we're not immune to having anti-immigrant sentiment. And so, like, I know people in my family who, like, are like, yeah, send them back. And when we let comments like that pass from people that we know, then that makes us part of the problem, because it's not cool for people to say that. And I think that's really hard to talk to somebody that especially, like, it's like your mom or your grandpa or your uncle or whatever, it's like uncomfortable to have those conversations, but I think those conversations are really, really important. I don't know that I'm gonna persuade anybody, but I do know that I don't ever want to be associated with anti-immigrant sentiment, not ever, but also, like, somebody's gonna look at it, and even if I won't persuade them, I hope I do make them, like, think just a little bit.
I think of that as, like, truth telling and love, and I think that really is the best way to, like, even if in that moment it doesn't change, like, that person's mind, other Facebook friends who are reading those comments, or your, like, little cousin who's sitting on the other side of the table and just, like, overhearing, like, it might sit with them and it might be the beginning of a series of conversations. But I think it's important for folks who maybe are not experiencing the same sorts of risks and have their own privilege, maybe because they are citizens or whatever the case might be, to really talk to and with folks who are at greater risk and find out how they can use their own voices to sort of, like, amplify the experiences of others.
I have left Thanksgivings crying, talking about Ferguson and police violence and, like, people not getting it, and that feels very, very personal to me, and so it's really hard to put myself in that space. But I always appreciate when I see other people doing it, and, like, I also notice when they're not. I notice when they're silent. But then there are also just a ton of really, really brave and courageous activists who speak up all the time. One of the women that we work with all the time in Nevada, her name is Astrid Silva. She's a dreamer, and she's always writing and speaking and talking about this issue. And, like, maybe it's not me saying, like, did you guys know? It's me, like, saying, here's what Astrid has to say about it, and I stand behind her and I support her, and, like, if you have problems, like, come talk to me.
Yeah, but also being, like, super respectful of how much, like, emotional labor they're putting forward and how much they are putting themselves out there, and, like, it can be really tiring.
Do you want to go back to calling Congress? Because calling Congress really matters a lot. Because, like, literally in congressional offices, people tally up the calls that they receive, and, like, I work on this issue all the time. And we've heard from congressional offices that, like, they're getting a lot of calls from anti-immigrant forces and not as many calls from pro-immigrant forces. And, like, it's not scientific. Like, that is what they report to the representatives, and they say, your constituents don't want you to support this, and then they don't support it, and you are capable of calling Congress. It's like that. It's literally that simple. And I think, like, people feel like you're gonna talk to somebody, like, maybe you're gonna talk to your congressperson. You're not gonna talk to your congressperson. You're gonna talk to, like, an intern. And, like, all the intern wants to do is, like, get you off the phone. They think that you have to know, like, a ton about the issue, but you could literally call and be like, I support Dreamers. Please support a Clean Dream Act. I live at this place, and that is enough.
You can put that pressure on your representatives.
Yeah.
Like, I'm watching you. Like, I'm calling you to let you know that I know what's going on and I don't agree with it, or I do agree with it. Because I feel like that's, like, a really important force.
One thing that you can do, especially if you live in a state where your congresspeople are already in support of this, is make sure that not just you're calling, make sure that your family's calling, make sure that your friends are calling. So, like, I'll do my little tweet and be like, I just called Congress, give me my likes. I like to tag my friends back home in Wisconsin, where there is a Republican senator, and I'll be like, hey, like, Ian, Jess, have you called yet? Mom, Dad, have you called yet? And, like, keep asking them.
Yeah.
Keep asking them until they say yes.
But I get a lot of phone anxiety. But one thing that's really helpful for me is I love when, like, different organizations or activists or whatever post, like, scripts that, like, totally makes everything seem so much calmer. And I'm like, oh my God, this is only going to take 5 seconds. And I see right in front of me what I'm supposed to say. And then you just do it and you're done. And it's beautiful.
Then once we'd thrown a bunch of ideas at the wall, I tried to summarize it out loud so that we could come up with our action plan. What I'm going to do this next week is I'm going to call my representatives every day. I'm going to find some people to talk to in my internet circle about why this matters to me, even if it's a difficult conversation. I'm going to make sure that, you know, every person who might follow me or know me who is affected by this knows that I'm with them, and be really public about that. And I'm going to use the Facebook event that I created for this to check in on all of you guys and see what you guys are doing. And then does anybody else have thoughts or plans or ideas that they're going to do this coming week?
Just be pressured by you to do it.
I think I definitely want to get in on the calling representatives. So now, like in my head, I've got all these ideas of things I want to like post and make pictures of, like support dreamers and things. So I think I also want to like make a push.
I think what I'm gonna do is, first of all, make you hold me accountable to overcome my phone anxiety. Maybe I'll just like come into your office and be like, I'm gonna sit here and call my representative and you're gonna watch me. And then also I think, as someone who does advocacy work as like my 9-to-5 job, I think it's really important that that I make sure that people who are impacted by the administration's decisions on DACA are represented in the work that I do.
I think I've forgotten to check in with my friends who are DACA recipients, and it's really hard. The other thing I'm going to do is donate to hurricane relief, because if you live in Houston, Puerto Rico, Florida, the Virgin Islands, like all of those places are definitely places where you also may have come from those places and may have DACA. And so like I can't imagine what it would be like if you were losing your status and you like couldn't get in touch with your family. Like that sounds like a lot. So I'm gonna do that too.
And then the party was over. I survived and I got to go back to my cozy little internet bubble with all my leftover cheese. But I followed up in that Facebook event I created every single day that week, both with the people who were there and the people who couldn't make it. To tell you the truth, I did feel a little annoying going in there every day, like, who made their calls to Congress today? Just tagging people and being like, hey, I called, did you? And then doing that the next day, and the next day, and the next day. But here's the thing, if I didn't do it, nobody else in my little circle was going to take it upon themselves to do it. I love them, but it's true. And remember, organizing is taking the responsibility to make things better. It's saying somebody has to step up and do the thing, so that's gonna be me, even if the thing isn't organizing the protest or leading the movement, even if the thing is just getting together all of your friends and saying, hey, make your calls, okay? You find what needs doing and you do that little Wonder Woman scene in your head and say, that's what I'm going to do. So I want you to give this a try, but if you're still not totally comfortable, Jess has a couple extra tips for you. Bonus points if you go through the list and you see what I did well and what I should do a little better next time.
One, you should be like Taylor and have food, because it's just better when there's food and drinks. I think it can be really intimidating if it's your first time to do it with a lot of people. So like Taylor, I would keep it pretty small. Make sure that you have it at a time where you're not going to be stressed out. So like sometimes people try to do it like right after work, too close, and they don't have time to get home from work and then get ready for the party. And most of the time people are a little scared on their first try. So make sure that you aren't stressed out, and then your guests won't be stressed out too. The last thing is, this is literally the most important thing, is make sure you have a sign-in sheet and make sure you make a hard ask. So the sign-in sheet is like just like getting everybody's name and phone number so you could follow up with them and make sure that they're doing the thing that you ask them to do when you give the hard ask. So hard ask is a term that we use in organizing that means at the end of the party, you want to say this was like something like this, like, wow, it was so great, everybody came. I'm really feeling really passionate and inspired. And next week I'm going to make calls to Congress, and I'm hoping that you'll join me in making calls to Congress too. And then don't say anything. Just wait, and then they'll join you. Just wait and look at them. But you want everyone to commit verbally or nod or something, but really you want them to say it out loud. So I'll do it one more time just so you can practice too. So, wow, I'm feeling so passionate and inspired after our house party. This week I'm going to call Congress every day. I'm hoping you'll join me and call Congress every day too. Will you? And don't say anything. And then after that, make sure that you follow up with people and make sure that they call Congress, because if all 5 of us called every day for the next week, that's actually a lot of calls. And then if we did that for 1 week, the chances that we would do it and ask our friends to do it the next week are probably pretty high. And that's the kind of thing we need to make sure that we pass the Clean Dream Act.
All right, so my hard ask for this video is that I hosted a house party about a cause that I cared about, and I hope you will host one too. Will you? Pretty soon I will be back with another episode in this series showing you what some of your house parties look like. And if you're planning to host one, which you should be, Let me know what your questions are or even what advice you have down in the comments. If you like this video, you can subscribe to my channel. You can also find me pretty much anywhere on the internet at ItsRadishTime, and I will see you next week. Bye!